Hey, and welcome to the Dream Freedom Beauty Energy Report. I am Natalie Ross, and I'm here with...
Rebecca Conran.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So what dates are we covering this week?
Can we just, first of all, this is our first video, everybody. We're doing our first video today, and we're so excited to kind of, hang out with you in this way, new way for us.
Totally. And, I'm so excited about this, and,
we're a little bit worried that, there may be some wood chipper action going on, but
exactly.
we're gonna get through this.
Exactly.
So this is the energy report for Monday, July the 30th to Sunday, August the 5th.
Wow. So
we're moving from the 7 month of 7 being, what's our spiritual beliefs? What is our spirituality, into an 8 month of like manifestation, balance, karmic equalization. So kind of that, what you sow, you will reap energy. So the theme that I picked for this week was making bold life changes. And the ritual for this week is to meditate on success by holding the intention of success. I think we probably all are reeling from that eclipse energy. I mean, I know this whole eclipse season has been really intense. What about for you? Well, I know it is for you too, Natalie.
I mean, I'm literally getting rid of 2/3 of my stuff, selling my house, and moving across the country into a life that I can't even comprehend what it's going to be like. So I'm feeling it.
Yeah. That's the most eclipsy of all the eclipsiness. It's just like complete transformation in your experience. I'm also experiencing that in many regards. I had a birthday during this eclipse season, as well as, 35, as well as my Mercury return, my Venus return, and my solar return all at the same time. But I am loving it. So we are now in our Mercury retrograde, and while we're listening to this report, and we've gone through this big lunar eclipse in Aquarius. So this week, the theme, making bold life changes. It's about sort of connecting into what that means for us, what life changes we really want to be making, and the ritual of meditating on success by holding the intention of success. It's really about enjoying the excitement of what's going to come next, rather than the fear, visualizing yourself in the job that you want, living the life that you want, in the relationship with you want, as if it's already here, as if you've already attained the feeling, the vibration, the energy of it, even if you don't know like exactly what it's going to look like to put all those pieces together.
I want to talk about that a little bit because, even just this morning, I was like, for like weeks, I haven't been able to find my external hard drive. Like, so simple. This is so simple and so practical. And this is not even woo-woo. This is like human wiring and science. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I've been telling myself I can't find my hard drive. I switched my self-talk. I was like, I can find my hard drive. And I found it within a minute. Like, that's not even... like, woo, it's just like brain wiring. And that's also what you're speaking to here, is like people don't have to go that far out on a limb to practice this. It can just simply be flipping, I can't have this, I'll never have that, I won't be this, I won't be that, to I can have that, and start seeing what happens, because your brain is going to filter through that and then start creating whatever it can to make that happen. So it's magical too, of course, we're all connected to spirit, but it's also like, it's just basic human wiring, and that's what's so cool.
Yeah, Natalie, my phone just cut out, so hold on one sec. Let me just check that I'm not on the Wi-Fi, that I'm on my phone. Sorry, I don't want to mess up the recording. One sec. Can you see me now? Am I back?
I can see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, viewers, if there's a little technical difficulties. This is our first one today.
It's our first time.
Yeah, and to speak to what you're saying too, last week I've been finding that manifestation is happening so rapidly right now, and it's on the heels of this like acute disappointment that we might be feeling sometimes, but it's in that moment when you turn around the victim mindset and you're like, no, like, I'm disappointed. I can grieve what's passing away, what I don't have anymore, what's not working, but I'm not going to surrender into a victim mindset. I'm gonna in some way reset my brain wiring and say, even though these disappointing situations have happened, what I'm seeking is seeking me. You know, nothing that is meant for me is going to be held from me, and really activating in that. And I found that almost like this manifestation has been happening. So it's an exciting time, but we do need to like keep our focus on that higher perspective. And that's the hardest part. You know, that's really the hardest part. This week's tarot, beautiful card, the 10 of Pentacles, really speaking all to the material world, the material realm, what we have in reality. It's a card of material abundance, physical comfort, and lasting solutions. So it kind of goes with our theme of like making bold changes to really create the foundation of what it is that we want. You know, it's about, this card is about that wealth and success is ours, but it's a state of being. So it's, you know, it goes along with kind of what we're talking about visualizing success, activating where you do feel fulfilled in your life, even if there's things that seem like they're missing. How can you turn it into, you know, taking away the focus of what's not there, putting the focus into what's there, and the gratitude and all that stuff that we've been working on the past few weeks of cultivating. So this card it's about building stability, but the only true stability, the only true home is the home within, the stability within, the peace within. So regardless of the exterior environment, you know, where we get our peace and stability and safety is from a feeling of connection within, a peace within. You know, I think it's normal for us to, when we're feeling stressed out, we look, oh, what's going to fix this? What's going to fix this? Because it's a much more difficult route to go within and go, it's going to be a change inside of me that's going to fix this. And that means like combating my demons sometimes, and my discomfort and my pain and my suffering. So, you know, this is a time where we're really searching for that inner home. And, you know, probably where we're setting more long-term goals to decide what we really want to commit to in reality. So, and I'm looking over here because this is where my notes are.
Oh, yeah, totally natural. Yeah, cool. I love it. And super stoked. I mean, this is what you're talking about. I feel like is kind of the it's my jam. Is totally what I'm into, is that conscious co-creation, and you know, just really being aware of that full spectrum of, you know, sometimes you have to turn around and face those shadow things within in order to really be open to receiving that which you're calling in. And I feel that, especially with me going through a move right now and just the immense energy it's taking and the extreme disruption of my environment, I'm like, wow, I would love to just Netflix and chill all day and escape it, but I have to like continually be present and do the next thing and clear the energy and like be focused and take a little time for self-care and then do the next thing. It's like bam, 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 bam. And really feeling that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, in this week, as far as major planetary shifts, there aren't any this week, but obviously it's always a busy week, you know, when it comes to the energetics. So the one thing I wanted to highlight during this week is that we're building to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So, you know, when Uranus, which is going to be on the 6th, so it's the day after the end of this recording, but we're going to feel this build during this week. So what we're going to be going through are 7 retrogrades.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
It happens all the time. Okay. It happens all the time. But, you know, I think that as we've gotten more sensitive as a collective, and as we've collectively incarnated and agreed to doing this spiritual transformative work, we're definitely feeling the polarity. We're feeling the ego pull of the shadow side, where people aren't doing the work. We're feeling it within us. I think that, we are rapidly shifting our collective consciousness. So I think that it is more intense. And the more spiritual work you do, it doesn't get less intense. You just have the tools to move through it in a more holistic way, in a more, enlightenment truly is just the feeling that all is well, even, as it might be the world might be falling apart around you. And I often like see and read, obviously, people going, oh, the world's going to shit. It's like this theme of like the world's going to shit. And like, I'm a very philosophical person. I'm somebody who studies philosophy and history and religion and spirituality. I just don't feel that way. I just don't feel like everything is going to shit. I see it. Yeah. I see things falling apart, and I'm well aware of the pain and the suffering, but it just doesn't feel to me like I need to feel that everything is just going to hell in a handbag. And I'm acutely aware of the trauma of the world. I mean, that's what I'm processing all the time and helping people heal through.
I got a question.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Because, there's so many metaphors that could be made, and I think about this a lot too, and tap into and feel and just kind of sit with like, well, what's really happening? So what are you seeing that is happening if we're witnessing the events that make people say, oh, the world's going to shit, and you're like, well, it doesn't feel like that to me. What do you have any more to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's a collective revealing. I think it's always been in some way shit. And I think what we're moving out of is we're becoming more aware of that density of the ego and how rooted it has been, the human ego, and how rooted we've become in this conditioning and these societal beliefs. I see it as a breakdown to break through whatever is going on. I don't see it as being anything worse than what we've been through throughout time, though, in any way. And I have ardently studied world history. So in no way is today some kind of a worse day than any other day through time. But we do have more spirituality waking up at this time, more acceptance, more unconditional love as a common theme. This is the important part. More people in America today care about what's happening to their next door neighbor than anybody ever cared through time, and in many ways it's because we have the ability now to connect with people so far away through technology and things like that, to see really what's going on, to cultivate humanity and or humanitarianism. And I think that these are all really positive things. Is everything that we're seeing positive in the world? Absolutely not. But I think that what we're moving to is a collective revealing and awakening that will probably be transforming way past our generations, and I don't think there's some like heaven that we're getting to ultimately. I don't think we're like heading into paradise. I think that we are bit by bit just shifting the way that we work with energy and incorporating more love into it. And that's good enough for me. I don't think that we should be focused on some outcome that is probably unattainable during our lifetime of like heaven on earth. I think we should be just really focused on how we can bring more love in, the experience of more love, more light, more acceptance. And that is good enough, for us. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, like being present on earth, Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just want to say something that people can like learning about history. I've really loved the Ken Burns documentaries, and they're on like, I don't know, Netflix or Hulu or whatever. I have no. You just find Ken Burns. He has done so many, and they cover a lot of different aspects of events in history, and it's fascinating. It really puts into perspective, like, wow, we've come so far. We've been facing these problems again and again and again. I mean, it really is the spiral, and it really shows you the spiral when you look back through history and see where we've been. Really helps provide some context, and it doesn't excuse anything that sucks in the world, but it does help you understand, like, okay, how do we navigate this? How do we learn lessons from our past and apply them here? Because we're still struggling with things that people struggled with in, like, Sumeria, like ancient Sumerian society. So, like, wow, okay, we need to get our shit together, guys.
Yeah, and part of the issue with our history is that it's been written by men, you know, with a agenda in mind, an agenda and a set of beliefs that we've inherited. We've inherited beliefs about astrology, about holistic wellness, where we don't even understand why we don't believe in stuff. People tell me all the time, I don't believe in that shit. I'm like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. How do you know if you believe in it or not? Where does that belief come from that you would just like categorically say, I don't believe in that? And I think like we've been taught that, and we don't even realize how much we've been conditioned by the mind of, you know, megalomaniac men ultimately. So now what we're doing with history
throughout thousands of years.
Yes, because kings used to be the ones that would be the only people that would make a copy of the Bible or of the history, and they skewed it however they wanted to control people. So now we have education. Anybody can educate themselves ultimately, and research and find out information. And the other thing is that we're starting to rewrite history from a higher perspective, going, okay, this isn't right. And it's interesting because, you know, I was raised in England, and I moved here when I was 8, and I skipped 2 grades. And when I experienced American history, I was like, this is radically different from what I've been taught in terms of world history. Not to say that English history is correct either. But even when I was a little girl, I was like, this is so different than what I learned. Why are these just not adding up in any way? Right? So history is skewed, but now we're looking at history of like how men have been the ones to write history, and how the female has really been eradicated from history in a position of power, in a position of having something of equal, what's the word? Benefit to our society. And now we're starting to rewrite that and look at that and go, oh, this was really written in a very, in a way that marginalized and oppressed people. So I think it's a positive. I think there's a lot of positive growth. I just think we're growing, and it's painful to grow. It's very painful. And even if you're doing okay in your own path, it's hard to watch other people struggling and to feel that energy so deeply as well. But so, you know, I wanted to touch a little bit on the retrogrades, and then I'm going to talk about this Uranus retrograde. So the retrogrades we have going right now is we're in Mercury retrograde in Leo, which will go direct on August 18th. And this is our communication, our perception, in a way where we're learning how to emote more who we are. This is who I am. This is my creativity. This is my gift to offer to the world. So Mercury going retrograde, looking within at how we feel called to do that. We have Mars in Aquarius retrograding. Mars, our action. Aquarius, this like urge for freedom, revolution. And that goes direct on August the 27th. Mars, with this inward process, you know, it's the inward process, in the inward action of rebellion, ultimately, you know, and radical shift in ourselves. Also, projects may be very slow at this time, very slow, because we don't have that impulse to like put things out into the world. It's a time to kind of like take it easy on yourself if your projects aren't manifesting as rapidly as you'd like them to be.
Question. Do you remember when Mars went into retrograde? I don't.
Yeah, it was last month. It was in June. Yeah, June 26th.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
And we retrograde through Aquarius back into Capricorn, you know, into this worker energy again, into this Capricorn, I like to say, is how you manifest in its most ideal state, how you manifest the spiritual world in reality, how you build that spiritual world as a foundation in reality. So this also goes along with our Saturn in Capricorn, which is retrograde and will go direct on September the 6th. So we're learning as a collective theme, our work is maturing enough to bring our spirituality down to earth and manifest it in our lives. And all these other things help us do that. The Mercury in Leo helping us to come out of the spiritual closet, as we've been talking about, to be like, these are my beliefs. This is how I live my life. You know, this is my status quo now, you know, of who I am and how I want to live. Neptune in Pisces retrograde until November 24th. That's Neptune is in the most Pisces place. We're breaking down, we're dissolving illusion and like all of this, like, you know, all of this shit that we talk ourselves into living a life that's inauthentic. We're really seeing that clearly, like the limitations of the shadow element in our beliefs of like blowing it apart. Pluto in Capricorn, transformation, retrograding until September the 30th. Chiron in Aries, our wounds, the self, the expression of the self and the collective wound around that as an access point to, you know, this is about us like looking at the wounds in ourself as a point where the light gets in, you know. And then now we're going to have Uranus, which is retrograde, and it's going to go direct January 6th. So, you know, by the end of September, we will be pretty much moved through most of these retrogrades, except for a couple. So they're not a punishment, you know, they're not, it's not abnormal to go through retrogrades, but the more you're feeling it is probably because of all the spiritual work you've been doing. And, you know, you are more than capable of like continuing to do that. You know, if you're tired, slow down and rest. But don't feel that like, if you're still sometimes being negatively impacted by the energies around you, your own beliefs and patterns, that's in some way a failing. It's just not, you know, like our healing is so nuanced. It's so hard to know what to do next or how to access things. And for me, it's always the hard way. I've never done my healing like an easy way. Like, I think I'll heal this today. It's like, holy shit, everything's fucked up. I'm like, I guess I got to blast through this healing, you know?
I hear ya. And, you know, I think it's something that I really love to remember, and it can be so hard to remember and to embrace, is to remember to play and have some lightheartedness in your life, if possible.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in deep grief and depression, obviously I don't want to shame you or blame you for not being able to get there. But if you are able to, and you can even take an hour, a couple hours, and do something lighthearted and fun, it is so rejuvenating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot up
feeling
in here.
the heat?
It's hot up in here, Bill. Also, because we have the unicorn hair, 80 pounds of hair each, it's even hotter. It's even hotter. Yeah, play is so important. And, you know, I think that, like, I used to teach some yoga laughter classes sometimes, and people would come in and they'd come to the class, you know, I'm like, they're there in the class, and they're like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to have fun. This is stupid. And by the end of the class, they'd all be like, oh my God, we should do this all the time. And like, what's your phone number? Let's all spend time together. And it is hard. It's hard to overcome that like negative kind of like, I'm too cool to like play and be silly and just like be goofy. You know, it's like, we're so worried about like how we're going to be perceived and that's
Totally.
part of like the removal of the mask of what is inauthentic to us, you know?
Go make silly faces at yourself in the mirror and see if you can't make yourself laugh. Like, you know, I love that. I want to go to laughing yoga. That sounds so fun.
We'll do it when I come out and visit you. We'll record it.
Yeah.
We'll show everybody.
I feel like my life is a laughing yoga. My husband's like, how do you wake up smiling and laughing? Because I'm like, I don't know.
That's so cute.
I'm like, but it wasn't always this way. But that's a story for another day.
I'm like that in the morning too, but at night you better watch out. I'm not a night person. I'm like, fuck off, leave me alone. I'm tired. I'm existential. And then in the morning I'm like, good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to also in those classes, I would like when I couldn't get everybody to just participate, then we'd have to I'd lay them down on the floor and everybody would like rock the one person at a time. And I learned this from a friend because we did it once in a class that she was teaching, and rock everybody on the floor, and then I'd be like, isn't she pretty or isn't he pretty, and let's compliment them. We used to be like, I really love how you have been like this, or I love your hair, blah, blah, blah. And then as you're rocking them, it's like, it's so crazy. Like they just are like laughing and they're embarrassed, but they're also like loving it and they're trying to receive it. Sometimes, and I'd be like, I'm going to shake the laughter right into you. And there was nothing more fun to me than like breaking down a bunch of people that didn't want to have fun. I'm like, I'm going to get you. You're going to have fun today. That's probably my Mercury and Leo coming out.
Love it.
All right, so let's talk about this Uranus retrograde. Do you want to tell us about Uranus? I'm just joking.
Whoa. Ask my dog. Wow, that was weird. Just because dogs love to sniff butts. That's all it's rooted in, okay?
Thank God mine can't reach. She's only 4 pounds, so she can't make me feel awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah, my dog's only about 18 inches off the ground, so he can't even smell my. Just dogs love butts. Like, what the? Dogs are weird, but I love them. They're gross, and I love them.
Just stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop it, dogs.
Yeah.
All right. That was an interesting tangent. Okay, so we're back on our Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So Uranus is that shocking electric energy. It's rebellion. It's revolution. It's our uniqueness. It rules Aquarius. You know, it's our individuality, our social awareness. I think it's all these themes that we're becoming really personally acquainted with our Mars in Aquarius retrograde, that's happening now too. And I wanted to look up the Sabian symbol for the degree of this point that we're retrograde, that we start at in the Uranus in Taurus. And it's called the Rainbow's Pot of Gold. And this comes from the book by Dr. Mark Edmund Jones about all the Sabian symbols, which is that there is a visualization and an energy around each degree of the entire zodiac. So this one, the Rainbow's Pot of Gold, and it talks about there's always a promise of treasure, which at the end proves to be a gratifying complementation in physical tokens of whatever spirituality the self has brought into manifestation through its own efforts. This is written in like 1900s. The key words are faith. So this talks about when positive, the degree is an inner assurance which enables man to hold steady in every course of his choosing. When negative, a loss of opportunity through futile expectation and an unintelligent wandering off into the quests of pure fancy. So really what this meant to me was, this is like a really positive moment. There's a lot that can come from the manifestation, but again, it comes back to like really what we've been talking about for the last few months. Check your motivations. If your motivation is because you want everybody to look at you and go, you're amazing, instead of going, I'm amazing and I deserve to put my information out there. These are two different themes, one which may have a repercussion where you have to learn to check your motivations, or one where you may feel like true manifestation from this outpouring of your own inner confidence ultimately. I think, and faith is just coming up so much. And I think that is also about coming out of the spiritual closet of like letting yourself trust, unconditionally in spirit, the universe, God, nature, whatever it is, that it's all moving for us forward in a way that is for our highest and best. So many of us have felt a lot of discord within in certain degrees. And it can manifest as a repulsion of our outer experience. Like you want to leave a job desperately, you want to leave a relationship desperately. And sometimes those are appropriate moves. You know, we talked about this last week too. Sometimes that is the right thing to do. And sometimes you need to shift the inner perspective to overcome your challenges first and leave on a high note, kind of like, yeah, I'm going to leave this job anyway, or I can leave this relationship anyway, but not because of this repulsion to my experience, but because it's the right timing, it feels intuitive, and I feel at peace making this decision for myself. So yeah, I think like this energy, especially with, so Uranus, shocking, revolution, rebellion, Taurus, our earthly pursuits, you know, our resources, home, and things like this. It represents our values, partnerships, our humanitarianism. You know, I think this energy is really going to be asking us to sit and ask why we're really in discomfort, what the situation is trying to help us grow through, and what changes do we need to make internally before making changes to our outer experience. Yeah, so, you know, I think the other thing is that as a collective, especially here in America, we are all really evolving rapidly through this need for all humans here to have healthcare, to have a living wage, to have their needs met, regardless of if they're a racist or like a conservative or a Democrat or whatever. Every human being deserves these things. This should be the status quo, that we have healthcare and clean food and clean air, and that we are as a society moving towards those ideas for one another. So Uranus in Taurus is going to help us to break apart foundations that hold society outside of that unconditional worth, and including where we hold other people outside of that worth. And, you know, I often think about kind of like the death penalty and things like that, like us coming to terms with our hatred of people who are what we deem evil, you know. And I'm not going to really make any comments about that because that's an inner process that we have to go through. But, you know, I think when you learn to see that all violence and evil is in humans comes from a point of deep suffering, you have a different experience of that ultimately. And that's all I'll say. What are you thinking, Natalie?
It's just funny that, I mean, I'm stoked for this. It's hard. This is really hard, especially because if anyone, I know a lot of listeners are learning about white supremacy and racism and how they've internalized it and embody that just because we live in a racist society, a society built on a framework that is inherently white supremacist. And I'm like, wow, I guess this uncovering and dismantling of these inner judgments and projections are just going to further amplify, which is great. Like, it's really intense. I'm really feeling it. I bet a lot of other people are. It's really intense, but this is the work we have to do if we do want to create that just society. We have to dismantle that conditioning, and we have to create a different vision and live into it. And that's in our responsibility to get inside each and every one of us. So I'm just, I know it's going to be intense, but I'm actually really excited and grateful that this stuff is coming up. And the metaphor I use is like, I'm moving right now, and so everything has come out of our closets. We're downsizing and getting rid of stuff. So our house is chaotic, but that's kind of the thing, is like the same with these processes. Stuff comes out, it's chaotic. It feels like so intense. You're like, how am I going to live like this? But as you do the work, you filter out the stuff, and then you have this new reality that you're living in where those things have been transmuted. And so we're doing that. And it's, you know, just want to honor everyone who's in that process through any type of conditioning that they're dismantling, which we always are. So
absolutely. And I've always felt like, well, hate doesn't heal. It just doesn't, like you cannot heal hate with hate. So when you are in the frequency of hate, that's your vibration. You're matching that vibration. And that's not something that you need to feel shame about even, or judgment. You also just need to kind of bring awareness to, well, why is that? And oftentimes it's an element of ourselves that we're denying, it's an element of ourselves that we're cutting off ultimately. I always thought that, it's not about, like with revolution, people always go, well, you can't do it with peace. You got to kind of move through it with some sort of like violence, right? There's violence or peace. And I'm always like, is there only violence or peace? Like, maybe there's a new thing that we're supposed to be diving deep within our fucking psyche to discover that isn't these two polarities that we've been handed. Maybe we don't have to meet violence with peace or violence with violence. Maybe we need to bring something new to the table. And as a collective, we need to be discovering what these new pathways are, these new channels are, if neither of these things work, right, and they haven't worked, then we need to kind of be looking for the avenues that will work. And that requires the inner genius that some of this electricity is going to bring in. And maybe we just start by doing it in a small way and then it builds to a bigger idea. I think if we're all kind of like on the search for like, okay, we want to actually create new pathways. Maybe these pathways don't exist. And that's why sometimes we see things so black and white and we get so upset by how small a worldview that we have when we make things so black and white. This is about going, okay, well, there's all these other gray areas that we need to kind of
and not
build
only gray,
on.
the rainbow areas, because you said this is the rainbow. The symbol was that rainbow, right?
Did I?
What was the symbol? The rainbow's pot of gold symbol.
The Sabian symbol. Yeah, the rainbow's pot of gold.
Rainbow.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shades of rainbow.
And all those rainbows you've been posting, I think we need that. There's just new avenues. There's new avenues that are being created, and it takes for us to have like a massive set of balls to like really move forward on it.
Wait, can we say a massive vagina?
Set of ovaries. Yes, exactly. We have to really be able to go, I don't care if this makes any fucking sense to anybody else. Like I know that there's other opportunities, and even one of us shifting our energy in terms of opening new avenues of ideas and thoughts it has repercussions in the world around us. I know from my own personal experience, that it really does open up other people's eyes if you're at least willing to open up your own. The shadow side of this Uranus retrograde energy is going to be erratic behavior, nervousness, egomania, and extremism, because some people aren't going to be able to handle the pressure of their shadow work. And that's just something that we see outpictured all the time. Where this energy helps us, do you have an urge to free yourself from something? A common theme this year is freedom from the ties that bind us to limited beliefs and old paradigms. So what do we need to shift in that respect? And again, we spoke about this last week. It's a process to surrender to these urges, to shake things up, to look within, to look at our motivations. We might have surrendered and released so much in other areas, and now we're like, now I got this other thing I got to do. It's just part of the process of like helping to heal the whole collective through healing ourselves, and it's a big job. It's a job that is just, it's so deep because for tens and tens of thousands of years, humanity has been living in this density, this extreme density. A recommendation I have for this time is to kind of, if you can, take some herbs to support your nervous system. I've been taking oat straw, which Natalie told me how to make the tincture for. Maybe
Well,
she can
I
post
make an
that up.
infusion. I make an infusion
An
of it.
infusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been drinking the infusion, but then I've also been taking a tincture, and I've been taking some other heart opening herbs. I posted about some on Instagram. My favorite milky oats tincture right now is carried by Good Fight Herbs in Hudson, New York, which you can get online. But oat straw, yeah, Natalie told me about the infusion. You just get like dried oat straw. You can even, oats, like oatmeal is very good for the nervous system. So maybe even if you're just like incorporating some of these like nervous system supporting herbs will be very helpful. Just a little added help at this time. Skullcap, maybe something that would help.
I have a, I love this. It's a St. John's wort. Some people might know it as St. John's wort. The St. John's wort flower essence from Moon by Moon Apothecary that I just put in my filtered water supply. And it's this heart energy medicine. And so me and my husband and anyone else who comes and drinks water at our house is getting it. And I really feel it. I feel it calling to me to be like, put it in the water. And I do. And this Moon by Moon Apothecary has that essence. So,
yeah. Flower essences, like all kinds of things that you can be taking, or like Natalie showed me, you get a pound of the dried oat straw, which is about $16 or so online, a big bag, and then you just add it to hot water overnight, and then you've got a tea infusion that helps to support your nervous system. So there's inexpensive ways for you to kind of invest in doing this for yourself as well.
And if anyone wants to learn more, they can just search Susan Weed, Nourishing Herbal Infusion. And then
that's our girl.
That's our girl. That's our Susan. Grandma.
Yeah. Or go find some weeds. Yeah. Weeds have a lot of healing properties in them. Well, that's all I have for the energy report this week.
Cool.
Is it enough?
It's good to me. Super cool. Wow. The Uranus, I mean, I'm Aquarian, and so the Uranus retrograde, I'm sure, is going to be a party over here. But
yeah. Well, I always
like
think
that.
that when you are an energy, that you have an easier time of it. Like with the moon, because I'm a Cancer, I feel like I have an easier time with when we shift through the moons and the emotions, because it's more of my core essence. So Uranus, I mean, you know how to do Uranus because you're an Aquarius. So it may be that you have to work on those Taurus themes, which makes a lot of sense because you're moving house during it, which is very much a Taurus type theme. But like we all have such dynamic birth charts where we have so much, nothing is ever like, oh, this is really bad for me, or this is really bad for me. I mean, it can always be good or bad depending on like what's going on for you in your personal experience. It's never really the planets that are trying to fuck us up or something. They're just, they're supporting us in these different growth patterns. Speaking of birth charts, I'm now doing an intuitive birth chart reading. It's a 90-minute session, 90 minutes or 2 hours, where we talk about, I really like to focus on Chiron and the North Node and sort of like the energy of the chart and its meaning in terms of like why you might see certain patterns coming up and what you're meant to move forward with in this lifetime. So if anybody's interested in that, and then of course you can go to RebeccaConran.com and see all of my services, my sessions, distance and in person in Brooklyn, energy healing, medium work, and things like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. So yeah, RebeccaConran.com, y'all. And also on Instagram at RebeccaConran. And then check us out, Dream Freedom Beauty on Instagram. And if this helped you, if it served you, let us know in the comments here on YouTube, if you're here or wherever you're watching this video. I don't know where we'll put it yet. But, and also share it with a friend. And then tag us both. Tag me at Dream Freedom Beauty and tag Rebecca at Rebecca Conran so we can check it out and say hi. Let's shout you back.
Yeah.
in the DMs or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to do, Rebecca. But I love it when people tag me and I get to go and just say thank you and say yes and just see what they've said, and it's really fun. It's really fun to witness that and just say thank you. So tag us.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who's been sharing.
Yeah.
Over the last few months.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll see you all next week. Cool. Blessings to everybody.
We love you.
Bye.